This is bonus footage from our last episode. You can see us trying to get the engine onto this mount that we had built. Now, we built the mount prior to actually having the engine hoist, so we really weren't sure how everything was going to work, and it wasn't working that well, as you can see here. Part of the problem is that the engine carrier couldn't slide underneath the hoist, and the hoist couldn't slide under the engine carrier. So it was quite a challenge to try to get this thing lined up. Now what we're doing here is we're trying to line it up so that we can clamp the engine to the top of this mount, so we can mark the holes, to drill the holes, to put the bolts in, to attach it to the engine. So it took a little bit of time. We did eventually get it, and as you can see here, the engine is now on top of that cart, and it's working out well. Well, the first thing we had to do is we had to go make a trip to the East Coast to pick up some of our resin. Now, you're going to hear me a lot of times in this video refer to epoxy. I'm not using any epoxy. It's just I'm used to saying epoxy rather than resin. So every time I say epoxy, think polyester resin, because that's what we're actually on our way to go get. We could have had it easily shipped to us over here on the West Coast, because we're on the West Coast of Florida. UPS charges $50 per box for hazardous materials. So we would have had about 4 boxes of hazardous materials coming to us. That's $200 in surcharges. I had to go over almost all the way to the East Coast anyway, so I figured let me just go ahead and I'll make the drive. And as you can see here, it's a long, boring drive. Going through the center of the state. We actually drove around the south end of Lake Okeechobee, and we drove through a lot of the sugar fields until we got over to the East Coast, and we arrived at US Composites. Once we got there, we went inside. They had our order all ready for us. Great people over there. You always want, if you're going to go there and pick up your stuff, you want to call in at least a day in advance, because they actually mix this stuff to order. The polyester does have a shorter shelf life than the vinyl ester. We did get both on this trip, but they'll mix it right there. So call them up usually by 11 o'clock in the morning the day before you're going to pick it up. It'll be ready for you when you get there. And of course they ship. They ship everywhere. You just got to pay that extra fee. So once we got it all loaded up, you can see this picture here. That's about $800 worth of stuff. And we ended up making a few trips out that way. But this is what we needed to get going. So then of course we had to drive all the way back. I'll spare you that because it looks the same, just in reverse. Once we got back home, we were ready to start going ahead and laying out some of our plywood. Now, the first thing we were going to do is we were going to start out making some flooring. We can't put the floor on right now because we're still waiting for the new fuel tank, which should be here maybe even by the next episode. So we'll show you making up the new carriers, because we're going to make a new cradle for that, where the old fuel tank was. The new fuel tank's going to be a little bit smaller, configured a little bit differently. But here you can see we're starting to lay out the plywood and take it to the video. Okay, so this is our joint, and you can see one of these boards is warped a little bit. So what we did is we went along, and you can see the pencil marks we made.
made them all along the joint. So there's going to be 8 biscuits in here altogether. So we'll go ahead and we'll cut the biscuits. What that'll do is that will straighten this right back out. We're going to put some thickened epoxy in here and let that set overnight. Then we'll put some chop strand over top of this joint. This is the bottom of the floor. So this thing's gonna be nice and strong. It's the same thing we did on the first section. It worked perfect. We were able to carry that sheet all the way to the back and we had no problems. So let's get at it. The way the biscuit joiner works is real simple. When you push on this plate, a blade comes through and it's cutting half the biscuit. So then we'll put some thickened epoxy in here and we'll slide this biscuit in. Like that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll push these 2 pieces together and it'll make a nice solid flush joint. This thing it'll take all that curve out of this thing and it'll be nice and smooth. Once we get it done, we'll put about 6 inches of chop strand over top of this and we'll be good to go. Okay, so we got our resin in here. We got our biscuit joints. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mix some Cabasol and our catalyst in here. Now, one thing that I hear all the time is people saying, "Oh, I hate using Cabasol because it, 1, makes me sneeze, 2, tastes horrible." Well, you always want to make sure you're wearing a respirator so that you don't taste it or smell it. It's pretty bad stuff here, so definitely wear a respirator, especially if it's windy out. I'm always working outside. It's always got a little breeze, so we want to be safe. Okay, you'll be able to see it. Essentially what I did is I just mixed this up to thicken it. Okay, it's not mixed up like it's a peanut butter or anything like that. It's just thicker so that it'll stay in that joint a little bit better. Now we'll go ahead and we'll put this in the joint, put our biscuits in there, and go ahead and get this thing closed up. Okay, we used the clamps just to bring this thing tight to make sure we got all the everything lined up and nice and even. Now just go ahead and I'll put some more epoxy in here, but it'll keep soaking through, so we'll just keep adding to it. Now if you noticed, I didn't add any of the glass bubbles to this. I'm gonna add some glass bubbles to the mixture now because I just have to put another little skim coat on this one side of the bench that I forgot about. And over here, we got a little bit of a slip we made with our saw, so we'll go ahead and we'll make sure we get that all filled in. That's the peanut butter right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll let this set up now. Once it's set up, we're going to put our chop strand on top. We'll go ahead and flip this over, and we haven't sealed the other side yet, so we'll go ahead and we'll seal the other side. As far as cleanup goes with this stuff, it's really hard to clean. What I'll do is I'll go through and I'll wipe it out real well, and then I'll take a little bit of acetone and just wipe it down with that. I'll get a few uses then out of each bucket. See inside. Once this stuff gets hard, it's pretty hard to get off. The plastic tools, sometimes you can just bend them around a little bit and you can get most of it to come off. Acetone makes it a little bit quicker, that's all. Okay, we just went over this a little bit with some sandpaper, just to smooth anything out. Pretty good now. You see we tore up 2 pieces of chop strand. We're going to go ahead and put that on here. We've already mixed up. Well, we already have some of our resin in here. I just wanted to show you something. This resin right here, this is just it's a polyester layup resin that we've had for a couple months now. It's just starting to crystallize in the neck. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but that's what it'll start to look like. Now, the resin itself is still fine. It's not crystallized in the resin. This is just some stuff that was in the here. But this resin right here, which fortunately we're just about out of anyway, is just about to the end of its life. You get about 3 months with that stuff, and that stuff is right about 3 months old right now. The vinyl ester, we get a little more time. You get about 6 months with that. Our vinyl ester is only about a month old, so we got plenty of time with that. I'll go ahead and I'll put our catalyst in this, and we'll mix this up, and we'll get this laid up. What I'm going to show you today is our flooring. Now, one of the problems that we had with this boat is that it's wider than a sheet of plywood. So what we did, and I can show you that right here, is we've pieced together a sheet of marine plywood. Now this is, it is marine plywood. What we've done here is we've coated this. There's probably about 3 coats of polyester epoxy on here. This right here, this is the back piece of our flooring. So this hatchway right here that you see will be for over our fuel tank. So we'll have access to our fuel lines, our fuel gauge a little bit. It's kind of tight in there. But anyway, this is what we did. We measured across, we found where our bulkhead is. So that's where we cut the first seam. Then we used biscuit joints. So these are little biscuits that go in the joint. And there's about 6 of them in here. Okay, across the whole joint. So we went ahead, we used some thickened epoxy, cut the holes, put the biscuits in, pushed it tight. We did, you can see we have clamps here. We didn't clamp this thing tight. We just used those clamps to push everything together because we don't want to squeeze out the epoxy. And then the next thing we did after that is we went ahead and we put some chop strand, just 1 sheet of chop strand across the joint. It's probably overkill. I mean, I'm pretty pretty sure it's overkill, but it has created one big sheet. When we put this down, the original floor was put down. It wasn't coated. It was just marine plywood, and it was screwed down. We'll probably put a couple screws in this just to keep it tight. It may not even be necessary because this plywood's staying pretty nice and flat now. This is the bottom, like I was saying, so we don't have to worry about that joint. People seeing it, that can be ugly. When we flip this thing over, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the whole floor with fiberglass. We're going to use the 1780 biaxial, so it'll be nice and strong, waterproof. Again, like I said, strength really isn't something that we're worried about with this because there's so many bulkheads, so many stringers in this boat. This thing is going to be strong as anything anyway. So it's overkill, but that's what you do when you're doing it yourself. All right, I went ahead and I flipped this piece of plywood over. I want you to be able to see what the other side looked like. What we did as we were putting this joint together, if I can get in here enough for you to really see, but you can see how the epoxy just kind of dripped through the other side. And you can see there's some space in this joint. I know a lot of people are thinking when they see these clamps, you're not supposed to clamp an epoxy joint. You're going to squeeze all the epoxy out. The epoxy is where your strength is. But we didn't do that. We just used this to push everything together because of the biscuit joints gave us a little resistance. We could have just tapped it with a hammer as well. But these pipe clamps, you can see they go all the way down to there. They're 10-foot, 3/4 inch pipe clamps. We have them across our sawhorses, so you can kind of see it really supports this piece of plywood all the way across. So that's about it. What we're going to do is, this is the top surface now, like I was saying. We'll grind these things, make them nice and flat, and this thing will be ready to get installed. We got a few more cutouts we got to make. Over here, we're going to have a cutout for our fuel line. Back over here, we will have a notch for our battery cables coming in, and then we're going to put our fuel filter over here. This is, you can see this. See if I can get it so you can see this line, but there's a line here. That's where our seat goes. So our seat's going to come to right about here. So all this stuff is going to actually be under the seat. That hatch will be under the seat. Our fuel filter is going to be under the seat. Both of our batteries, they'll be over here under the seat, so they'll pretty much be in the center of the boat. So that's where we're at now. Today we're just doing a little cleaning up. We'll clean this thing up. We got to cut a lid for that hatch. We're just making a wood lid for that hatch because it's going to be under the seat. We're going to actually do some work on our seats and keep this thing going.
One quick thing about the clamps. I didn't get these clamps so that I could clamp that joint tight, like I said in the video. But the reason I got them really was because I was working by myself, and it was very easy to take both ends of that clamp and just tighten that thing right up. You can see I'm using those clamps a lot, so you'd be surprised a 10-foot clamp really came in handy. In case you're thinking that this is a little overkill with the biscuit joints and epoxy, there we go again with the epoxy, thickened resin, and then the chop strand on top of that. Now, this is all on the bottom is where the chop strand is going. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to make this whole floor as monolithic as possible. Now, every one of the cuts that we made in the floor, we laid it out so that they fell on top of either a stringer or a bulkhead. When we went ahead and we put these pieces together, because there's there's about 5 pieces that it's going to take to make up this whole bottom. 5, 4 by 8.5 foot pieces of plywood. We're going to put biscuit joints in that end too, so that everything lines up nice and straight. But once we get done with this, the floor is really going to be as close to one piece as we could have possibly gotten. Hopefully, down the road with this boat twisted and everything on the water, hopefully that's going to pay off for us. Previously it just had carpet on it, so if those boards were moving a little bit, you're never going to see it. But if those boards move now, just being that it's going to be gel coated, I don't want to take a chance of getting any cracks in it. So that's the reason I'm doing this the way I'm doing it. Hopefully it's overboard. Hopefully I went far enough overboard. Only time will tell. But I want to thank you for watching. And the next episode, we should be getting into some furniture, putting together some furniture. We should have that fuel tank in. And we'll see you then. Thanks.